Let us take a step into the world where you create your own reality. You are the creator, yet you still feel a sense of eeriness within your own creation. But why is that? Is it because of the strange depictions of the places and characters? Or is it because the game tries to tell us something? We try to puzzle and puzzle until we get our pleased answer, but the answer might be in front of us the entire time. This isn't just a game, but a whole emotion itself. I welcome you to Yume Nikki. The adventure game Yume Nikki, or Dream Diary as it's called in English, is a game created by the anonymous Japanese developer Kikiyama by using RPG Maker 2003, which is even older than myself. It's a very straightforward game. You walk and you explore. It doesn't serve any amazing combat elements, enemy encounters, or any similar aspects you would find in other RPGs, which leads to the game often being memed as walking simulator. The closest aspect of a combat system would be the knife effect, which can be used to kill most of the entities, to which they let out a very ominous scream. When you start the game, you'll find yourself in what looks like a small apartment. You can interact with some things, such as the desk to save your game, the game console Nasu, a Japanese counterpart of the Nintendo, to play a little minigame called Famicom, which I always fail to get over 50 points for some reason, or you can enter the balcony. You may as well wanted to take a shot and leave the apartment, but you see that Mezutsuki is refusing to do so. We can ensure that Mezutsuki is what in Japanese culture is referred to as a hikikomori, which is a term that gained popularity in the early 20th century, and it's used to describe typically young adults that withdraw themselves from social life and live in pure isolation. We know nothing about Mezutsuki's age, history, location, or anything else, but we can draw some conclusions that might lead to some key points, which we'll discuss later. Yume Nikki was first disputed on the 26th of June 2004 on Kikiyama's personal website. It continued getting constant updates until early October 2007. Yume Nikki then got published under the Playism distribution platform, a Japanese indie game publisher, in 2012 under the version 0.10a. 6 years later, Playism published the game to Steam for it to be available worldwide, and the following year it was even released for iOS and Android. Yume Nikki is a very notable and influential game, having an influence in masterpieces such as Omori, Earthbound and a lot more, and in even creating its own subgenre. Hell, it even has its own fan-made games like Yume Tuki, .flow and a lot more, which are honestly worthy of having their own videos. But there is one object we can interact with, so let's go to sleep and start the real journey. Upon waking up, you find yourself on the balcony, which is a pretty weird spot to wake up, but I'm no one to judge. When you step into your apartment, nothing seems out of the ordinary, except this time some sort of ambience is playing in the background. But the interesting part about this is that Mezutsuki is confident enough to leave her room this time. Welcome to the dream world. Exiting this door leads you to the Nexus, a place filled with 12 doors, with each different worlds to explore. These worlds loop, meaning you can walk for hours and you won't reach an end. Sometimes you will find yourself in the same spot you once crossed through a different door, really showcasing the infinite landscape of Mezutsuki's dream world, although you may find yourself lost and you want to wake yourself up. The figures Mezutsuki encounters are often not humanoid, but instead sometimes just geometric shapes, objects, or even body parts. There is no dialogue at all between Mezutsuki and the entities, which creates this really lonely and depressing atmosphere, especially since most of the entities don't even acknowledge Mezutsuki's presence. When interacting with certain beings within the dream world, you receive effects. All effects change the appearance of Medotsuki, with some having special abilities like boosting your walk speed, changing the weather, or playing a nice song on the flute. Not only that, but some effects can also affect characters in a certain way, but the most effects are mainly visual and serve no purpose. Your two main effects are going to be the bike and the knife. The bike serves you with additional movement speed and a funny little bell, and the knife is used to, well, roam entities out of your way. But not every entity is affected by your knife. When you kill a entity, there is a chance for money to drop. You can't do anything with money other than buying a drink at the vending machine, which gives you more health, but as previously mentioned, there is no combat, so this feature still remains a mystery to everybody. The most important aspect, at least for me, is the exploration. This game serves a ton of little secret places, which are sometimes really hard to get to and it will take some time, but it's very rewarding when finding these and exploring them. But what is the conclusion? Where's the end and where does the game say, it's done, there's nothing more for you to do? Well, once you collect all 24 effects and place them into the Nexus, the next time you wake up a set of stairs will appear on the edge of the balcony. Medotsuki goes up and... a loud crash, following with a pool of blood. Medotsuki jumps to her death and we see two human-like squids appear, which we actually saw in some parts of the game as well. And at last, the credits start playing. But those squids kind of seem important, don't they? I mentioned the different areas in the dream world, but how do they actually look like? Every door is unique and invites you to its own special world. These worlds include the Forest World, a forested area with ghost-like creatures. The Block World, an area filled with three-dimensional blocks with different sizes and designs. The Puddle World, a dark world with tons of puddles and lamps scattered around. The Snow World, a bright snowy space with evergreen trees and igloos. The Dark World, a realm where you are required to have the lamp effect to navigate yourself around. The Mural World, a world filled with very questionable murals. The Graffiti World, an area with colorful tiles that make sounds. The Eyeball World, a world with a lot of eyeballs and disembodied limbs. The Candle World, an area filled with candles where some even walk. The Shield Folk World, the home of the Shield Folks and some slimy creatures on the ground. The Neon World, a labyrinth-like area consisting of various colorful entities. And the Number World, a very eerie area with numbers on the ground and sphere figures. There are also deeper locations like the White Desert, the Wilderness, FC World and so many others which I won't put in this video because it would be way too long and... Another interesting part are the creatures that roam these worlds. While most of the creatures show little to no reaction to Medotsuki's presence, some of them are very special on the other hand. Let's look at the jellyfish for example. This entity can be found in the dense woods and in the end screen of the game. When interacting with the jellyfish, the frill shuffles from one side to the other and makes a bell chime. It shows no response to any of your effects, including the knife. The fact that they are carried onto the end screen of the game makes me believe that they are reapers of some kind. I also interpret them as a lotus flower, which in Japanese culture represents purity, divinity and spiritual awakening, and in some cultures it also represents the path from death to the afterlife. This may imply that Medotsuki's fate is a transcendence, from her disturbed life into a state of peace. Another notable entity in the dense woods is Shitai-san. Shitai-san, or Mr. Corpse, appears to be a man that died to reckless driving, which makes sense since interacting with him gives you the stoplight effect. It's possible that Medotsuki had been in some kind of car accident, and Shitai-san could represent this by showing her past, or could even be the corpse of someone she knew that died in the same crash. Another thing is that we see the jellyfish located near the corpse. It's possible that the jellyfish are able to sense where death occurs and will locate the source, just like they did with Medotsuki. But the most interesting characters are the Tori Ningen. The Tori Ningen, or bird humans, can appear in 3 different outfits. What makes this character so special is the lunatic mode they can enter. The normal Tori Ningen won't harass you, but those in the lunatic state start chasing you, which makes them really the only dangerous characters. When catching up to you, the Tori Ningen teleport you and trap you in an enclosed space. You can't kill normal Toriningen as well, because that makes them go lunatic too, but you can avoid them with the triangle kerchief effect. Monoko on the other hand is very special. Using the stoplight effect in close range to Monoko causes her to freeze and change her appearance. Upon interacting with her in this state, it causes a event? Events, the true horror of Yume Nikki. When exploring the dream world, you will, depending on your luck, occasionally come across strange occurrences, also known as events. Some events happen as a result of a specific action, others just on random chance. Most events don't really have an explanation, so there are tons of theories about them. Let's start off with the most known one, which is Uboa. When interacting with the light switch in Poniko's room, there is a 1 in 64 chance that Poniko turns into a pale head with long hair, called Uboa. There are eyes on the windows and everything is shaking, and when you try to leave or turn on the light switch, you can't. When interacting with Uboa, it will teleport you to Uboa's trap. You can exit it and there is a giant creature with a giant tongue touching mountains. Now, figure out what that's supposed to mean. The Witch's Flight. Using the witch effect on the rooftop of the mall lets you fly through the air. You can get back to the roof or either fall to the ground, which causes you to wake up on the floor. This event occurs in the number world when stabbing a Toriningen. When getting caught, the Toriningen will still trap you, but this time there's either a I or a dis letter, which means A in kana. Depending where you got teleported, when stepping on them, they will appear on the entire floor. The Aztec Rave Monkey. The Aztec Rave Monkey event can be found when looking into a hollow totem sculpture in the wilderness. A lot of different Aztec style monkeys start flashing. They can also be seen in the backgrounds in some areas. The Crick in the Neck. When waking up, there is a 1 in 64 chance that Marutsuki's neck is turned to the left. In this state, she is unable to write in her diary or play video games. How tragic. Face. Another flashy event. When stabbing a specific zipper tile in the number world, you get to Q-Kun's room. When entering the door at the end of the hallway, this face starts flashing with a static-like sound in the background. The static gets louder and eventually you wake up. The Famicom Glitch. In FC World there's a dungeon, and when going down to the deepest layer in the dungeon, you will find a fully lit room, which is weird enough on its own. But when interacting with the wall in the top left corner, the room slowly starts to corrupt. Eventually, your game crashes with a stuttering sound at the end, to which Marutsuki wakes up. The Kalimba TV channel. There's a 1 in 8 chance that when you activate the TV in the dream world, the TV will start playing the Kalimba channel, which is a full song by Kikiyama, made before actually creating Yume Nikki. Melting Marutsuki. When transforming to a snowman with the head and scarf effect in the snow world, you have to get to the underground. When getting there, standing next to the blazing corridor melts Marutsuki. Surfed hats in the sky. When you step the Dave Inspector in the White Desert, you can enter a tunnel where you will see a building at the end of the path. When entering, you see either a decapitated head of a woman or a man floating. When exiting, they quickly vanish. Monoe. Again you have to step the Dave Inspector, but this time you have to enter the tunnel from the left side. When walking around you will randomly find Monoe, and when interacting with her, a close-up of her face pops up, and then she disappears. Poor Dave Inspector, man. Monoko. When entering a different tunnel, you will find Monoko blocking the path. As previously mentioned, using the stoplight effect on her causes her to freeze and give her 5 arms. When interacting with her in this state, she starts to bounce all around the screen. The spaceship crash. When sleeping in Masara's spaceship, there's a 1 in 6 chance that the spaceship will crash, which leads you on Mars. Takofusen. Takofusen is probably the rarest event on this list, with a chance of 1 in 3600. If you get lucky enough, you will see Takofusen casually floating past the screen, making odd sounds. The Falling Man. Upon going up the stairway to the sky, there's a 1 in 4 chance of a falling man appearing. But that isn't enough, there's a 1 in 16 chance to see 2 of them at once as well. The Toriningen Party. The Toriningen are having a party in the desert, but sadly you're not invited. UFOs on Mars. When meowing on the Martian summit on Mars, there is a 1 in 4 chance for a UFO to appear. When meowing repeatedly, more UFOs will appear, up to a total of 11. But let me ask you this. Have you wondered why? Like, why does Merutsuki withdraw herself from society? Why are her dreams like this? Why are the characters depicted like they are, and what is the reason behind all this? Despite being such a massive game, it never gives you a straightforward answer to anything, and that's what I like. Unanswered questions like these are what make it such an interesting experience. The constant eeriness that accompanies you, waiting for surprises just to leave you with empty hands. I'm not even sure if Kikiyama knows this, but they had a huge influence in games and built a massive community that endlessly theorizes, because in the end, it's not the game that tells the story, but you as a player. It's about how you perceive the story, and your job is to find the missing pieces to the big puzzle. And maybe your puzzle turns out to be much different and bigger than the others. This is Yume Nikki, a vast landscape of emptiness. Thank you for watching. See you next time.